Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. So a lot of you guys have raised resistance against the point that I made where I said Yamato is mid. Now, I do not know for a fact if he's going to be mid when he actually drops in real time. The only time that I see him useful is at R6 when he can provide an attack up buff at the start and then he can absorb AP from the enemies and deal some damage at the same time. But that is only decent on paper. We still do not know whether that's going to be effective or not because that eats up one slot in PvP and we do not have a lot of slots. Unless maybe you have Shenpin who can double the damage of all of your DPS espers. But the thing is, going by whatever that we already have and whatever that we already know about certain espers, it is a safe assumption to say that he is not going to be a high performer because there are either cheaper alternatives or there are better alternatives right now. So I'm going to give you guys a better idea of what I mean in this video so that I'm able to explain to you a little bit more clearly why Yamato is not going to perform as well as like some of you guys think that he should do. So for instance, let's take a look at his kit, right? So the way that you want to build a Yamato is with no crit rate at all because he provides a full crit rate buff on himself with his Rashomon stacks. So this we understand, right? And the thing is, if you're going to invest in the crit rate, that is going to be a waste because that effectively makes his Rashomon stacks worthless, right? It's still a huge waste of your Rashomon stacks if you invest his stats into crit rate and not into HP percentage, for example. I'm sure you guys already understand why this is the case. This is actually a huge problem for his kit because, number one, his Ascension 6 actually gives him 25% crit damage. But the thing is, if you're only going to crit on your second skill, then you're effectively wasting all that crit damage and all that because his second skill only does true damage. Okay, it has a normal damage factor to its kit, which is just the initial phase of 10% attack plus 1.2% max HP times 3. This part can crit. This is okay. This part can crit. But the thing is, 30% attack, critical hit, that's really not much. And 3.6% of his HP, critical hit, that is also not much at all. It is not a lot at all. And there is very little reason why you want to build him with crit damage in order to push his damage factor of this skill. Because frankly, it is a waste of stats in my opinion. So here's what's going to happen, right? I'm going to use my third skill. I'm going to give myself 10 Rashomon stacks. Alright, now that my turn has come around, I can use my second skill. And this will completely deplete all the crit rate buffs that I have, which is the Rashomon stack. So if I use this, take a look at the damage that I do, right? So 5k, 1k, 1k. That 5k comprises of the true damage factor in his kit, which cannot crit. So that's why it did about 4000 plus on top of the 1000 plus that was the critical damage itself. So the true damage factor cannot crit. So in fact, that 6 Ascension that he has, 25% crit damage, is completely wasted because of the way he is designed. Now the issue right now is when he takes a turn again, he is effectively useless for the next 2 to 3 turns depending on 2 to 4 turns depending on how many skill ups you have put into his third skill. But in this case, we are completely max skilled, so for the next 2 turns, we can only use our normal attack. But the thing is, he has a pretty good chance of landing stuns on his first skill. I made a mistake on this bit, so he has actually one of probably the highest stun rate on his first skill right now. He has like a 70+% chance to stun after including accuracy and resistances, which is the highest in the game in terms of a single target stun, aside from like Liao or Jinhee for example, because those guys don't stun on their first skills. So that means that for the next 2 turns, he has completely no DPS output because he has 0 crit rate right now. He has like baseline crit rate, right? He does not have any Rashomon stacks. And all he really does right now is to just land stuns whenever he normal attacks or like whenever he avatar procs for example, which could be useful at times, but for the most part, he is not going to do anything during this entire phase, right? Now, another thing that some of you guys have mentioned is why not just from his third skill go into his first skill so that you can land more crits and then go into your second skill when you know your third skill cooldown is like almost up. So skill 3, skill 1, skill 1, skill 2, skill 3 essentially. Now the problem with that is clearly you have to run this on manual. And why would you really want to run this on manual? Because firstly, there is very little content that requires him to be run on manual. And in terms of like PvP, I feel like that's going to be a nightmare for you if you want to run PvP on manual, especially when you just want to use his first skill, which single target hits, which doesn't even have a good multiplier to begin with, so that you can maximize his Rashomon stacks. I don't think that makes any sense at all. So some of you guys might also be thinking, okay then what's the issue? Because he is clearly like an Ocean set abuser, right? You can just use Ocean set on him, abuse his procs and all that. Well, that is true, but the thing is, you should understand that the difference between Sienna on Ocean set versus Yamato on Ocean set is that Sienna is already broken on her own, and that's why the Ocean set makes her multiplicatively stronger. But Yamato on the other hand, he is not good without Ocean set. So he needs the Ocean set to be baseline useful. That's the difference over there. Because without the Ocean set, he has 2 turns of downtime, which is a big miss in my opinion. I feel like his first skill is good, but it is not turn-taking good. That first skill is only very useful when it's an Avatar counter or something similar like that. Now, the main reason why I feel like he's extremely mid is because at R6 he gains a new turn, right? So he's able to attack up buff, go straight into his second skill, land the AoE damage that does true damage and all that, which is great. His R6 is okay. I would say it is okay. And the reason for that is very simple. So this is something that I mentioned in the pinned comments of that video just like a few days ago. And that reason is Ashley. Now, Ashley is everything that Yamato is, but better. So they both have the same typing. They both have true damage on their kits. They both also provide attack buff for your team. But the thing is, attack buff actually helps her DPS because this actually affects the damage that your Rainbow Bridge can do, up to 10% of the enemy's max HP, with every single Rainbow Bridge stack. Not just one single proc, every single one of her 8 procs or something, or her 7 procs or something like that. And on top of that, she also has a stun on her kit, and that is in the form of an AoE stun. But of course, the chance is not high, but yet at the same time, there is that chance of you like landing a full AoE stun at least, or at least one target being stunned. So let's take a look at the difference using an Ashley versus using a Yamato who is like R6, right? I dare say that Yamato at R6 is probably a little bit weaker than Ashley at R0. And the reason for that is we have everything at the start plus a lot more DPS. So you take a look at that. Because we have the attack up buff, that actually improved our DPS quite a fair bit, right? And on top of that, we also have our allies to assist with dealing DPS. So when we land AoE crits, like hopefully we land a crit here. Okay, we didn't manage to land a crit, unfortunately. But maybe we can do it now. No crits as well. What about now? Okay, we did manage to land some crits. So the thing is, if we do have crits on our allies, we are still able to do more true damage, which is what Yamato is not able to provide when he's on cooldown on his second skill, because that is all the true damage factor that he has in his kit. It's essentially just his second skill. So in terms of true damage, he is lacking a lot. In terms of critical damage, he has none whatsoever, right? 1k crits is like absolutely dog water right now. Now, another thing that I hear from you guys, which is focus on the fact that he is a support Esper. Now, the thing is, what kind of support does he bring? A Suhua support? Attack up and defense up? Is that it? Then why don't you just use a Suhua? Because there is nothing else in his kit that is in any way a support, aside from, you know, inflicting buff blocker, which is, I don't think it's a support skill, and the proc chance is also really low, and perhaps the AP absorption that he does, which also redistributes it for your entire team. But in my opinion, that is only better at R6, where he can go from his third skill right into his second skill, which is a huge investment. And I mean, he does strip buffs on his R4, but are you really going to build him R4 just so that he can strip buffs with a 20% chance on each crit? I really doubt it. So in terms of support, he is completely garbage. And if you want to push the support narrative, then why does he get crit damage on his R6? That don't make any sense at all. So I feel like he definitely doesn't carry a lot in his kit. In terms of like just comparing himself with Ashley, they are both very much the same. Okay, you can argue that Yamato has a lot more HP and he's less likely to die. But the thing is, if he's less likely to die and he doesn't do much during his turns, then isn't he just a sitting duck? Is there any real reason why you want to include him into your team when you can include something else instead? Maybe you just include a tanky Ashley, right? Including a tanky Ashley, just give her all the HP stats that she needs. That is going to do the same thing. And in fact, she's still going to perform a lot better than Yamato. So I don't think that's a good reason for you to say that Yamato is good because he's tanky. I don't think that makes any sense at all. A tanky Ashley is going to do the same thing. So I think the right approach to dealing with the Yamato situation is to bring awareness to how redundant he is and how he doesn't really change anything in the current landscape. And if for you to say that he is good at R6, I feel like you didn't really take the moment to think about what it means to have an R6 Esper in the first place. Yamato is not a free R6, he's a free R0. You need to get 5 more copies of him. And are you suggesting that people should aim for an R6 Yamato just so that he could potentially be on par with Ashley? Instead, what I think we should do is highlight these problems so that the game can find a way to balance these Espers to make maybe Yamato a little bit stronger or not. With the right focus, we can actually make a change. We have done this in the past before. So the thing is, Yamato needs a buff. He hasn't even been released right now, and we can already more or less guarantee that he is not going to perform that well in many different scenarios right now. Not even in PvP, and not even in the areas where he has a speed lead in. So like for example, he has a speed lead in the tower content, right? See, all the tower content, Infinite Miracle, Calamity Island, and in the story as well, which is like, why would you even use him in those areas, right? Like, there's absolutely no reason. If you have an Ashley, she's immediately going to be much better than he is. So anyway, that's it for today's rant. Okay, but anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. If you did, don't forget to thumbs up, it really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Derry Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.